was going to say that we heard about a two-sided coin a bit earlier. You're going to get to see a two-headed monster now for the next little while. Okay, whoops, we're rolling ahead.
Okay, now we're ahead. Okay,
there we go. So first of all, the title of this talk was given to us by Rick. We did not come up with this title ourselves, but we do feel that we should explain it. We did make the artwork, though.
We did make the artwork. We got our best art people working on it.
Yes.
And we can talk about the lizard later.
Yes, but that's a very important thing, actually. So anyway, no, the thing that Rick said is that in theory, the physics of the situation is such that a bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly, and also it should be nearly impossible for a partnership to endure for 20 years. And so, but we're here to, just like the bumblebee can fly, we're going strong at 20 and with no sign of stopping anytime soon.
Yeah. And we've heard this morning about how it's great to be humble. Well, believe me, after seeing all these presenters and hearing that it's Dale Lutz and Don Murray up before Mark Burnett, I sort of feel like, wow, okay, let's get to Mark Burnett.
Yeah, we've overshot compared to our
okay.
pay
So
grade.
a little known fact. Okay, Dale and I were both born in Alberta.
Yes.
Okay, and so there you go. Anybody from Alberta out there?
Yeah.
Yay.
How about from Tofield? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll stick with Alberta.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. You know any good Tofield jokes?
Yeah, I do, but I'm not going to tell it.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, so we started off, and actually it's interesting because there's a few other things in common that we didn't know till way later. In fact, some of them not till recently.
Yeah.
Turns out that my mom and Don's dad went to the same school, and they only discovered that relatively recently.
Yep. Yeah, and I did a co-op term at ESSO in Calgary, and I finished basically just as Dale was arriving. So again, we did just narrow misses. So who knows?
And another thing, both of us grew up in homes where I was from a farming situation. Don was from an auto business situation. So we grew up in entrepreneurial homes. And I think that this is an important factor in our long-time partnership because we started off and grew up with a similar set of pressures on our families and a similar set of circumstances, really, even though they were provinces apart.
Yeah, my dad was a repo man. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did, actually.
Okay.
That's
so I used to go with him on collections sometimes.
So Don brought a different set of skills into the business than I did.
That's right. So we met in 1990, and I can still remember the day I met Dale, which is kind of a funny thing. I started in MDA because I did some parallel processing stuff, and anyway, they did some space stuff, so I figured, I'd go there and do parallel processing for space. Well, that never happened, but I met the team, and then I remember, Dale, we're going to see his picture in a minute, turning around, and we just hit it off, and we were both real keeners about technology and exciting, and
we both knew all the $6 Million Man episodes.
We knew all the $6 Million Man episodes, so it was really we just meshed right away there. Okay, you ready?
Yeah. So there's the fine crew where Don and I met, and if you won't be able to pick us out. Yeah. So there we are.
Look at that hair. So my hair is almost as good now.
And I've been told that I look like Harry Potter there, but
he
I'm
does.
not.
He looks like Harry Potter. Yeah.
Not really sure.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we got the idea to create a partnership after a few years hanging out together.
Yeah, that's right. I left MDA to go teach at BCIT, but we kept in touch, and I thought, hey, I had lots of free time. I was an instructor at BCIT, and I was used to working really hard, so I had lots of free time. So I wanted to start a company. I tried one with the auto industry, decoding serial numbers for cars. Not too exciting. I realized pretty quickly that this was a really bad idea. So anyway, Dale and I kept in touch, and then this contract for the BC government came up, and Dale knew about it, and we talked on the phone, and I knew Dale, and we're going to talk about some of the aspects of Dale that made me want to be a partner with him, and why I never ever really even questioned what was Dale the right person to be a partner with? Like, that never even entered my mind. But anyway, and so then we ended up. This contract was for a format called
SAFE.
SAFE, S-A-I-F.
But we thought that was too obscure of a domain name, so we bought SAFE, S-A-F-E.com for $50.
Yeah.
And we could have had anything. We could have had loans.com, Coke.com.
Coca-Cola.com, McDonald's.com,
But we got
Walmart.com.
safe.com.
We could have had anything. But we didn't. We didn't have that much vision. Okay. So what were some of the reasons that when looking at Dale, we worked with him enough. I knew about him, but really we at that point it was. You can see the one word there that's big. Fun was a big one. Dale and I we were very passionate about what we did. Great integrity. Whenever I worked with Dale, I always knew exactly where I was. And anybody who knows Dale knows that very, very kind, very honest. Dale is what he seems to be. It's just like level, and that's what you want to be. Hardworking. We both worked hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know Don was going to say that. I'm kind of absorbing this right now.
Sorry.
Thanks, Don. But yeah, I mean, a couple of things along these lines. There's a guy.
I won't mention that trustworthy was small print. No, never mind. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah. There's a guy you should know about if you're thinking about going into a business partnership. There's a guy that studied more than 10,000 founders in the U.S. named Noah Wasserman. Some of you may know of him. He's written a book called The Founder's Dilemma. Yeah. But he talks in there that only 16% of startups are solo. And first of all, around the idea of having a partner, I have many friends that are like dentists and so on that work by themselves. And having a partner is a huge advantage, because at the end of the day, when you have to go home and there's a heavy decision to make, you truly have someone that understands, that you can talk to, that's in it as much as you are. And I look at a friend of mine, for example, that's a dentist. When he goes home and if he has to make some decision, there's nobody to bounce it off. He's got nobody that really understands his lot in life. The other thing that Wasserman says is that actually the best chance of success for a partnership is when coworkers or former coworkers become founders. Yeah. And it's because the relationship has grown in the crucible of working together. And that is the most similar to what it's going to be like when you become partners later. Yeah. And so I was going to mention, it's my turn to kind of roast Don slightly. A partnership brings together people with different abilities. And Don has, at least I'm not sure if he still does, but for a long time held the record as having the fastest master's degree from Simon Fraser. I, on the other hand, he did his in 18 months. I took 6 years. So we do have different skills that we bring to the table in that regard. But you end up creating an organization as a founder or founders that mirrors yourself. And so if you are a sole founder, that organization is going to have the weaknesses that you have. If you are a pair or more of founders, your organization is going to have hopefully fewer weaknesses, because as a pair, you complement each other. And so Don is one of the hardest working, most energetic, innovative guys that I know. And so he brings that incredible skill to the table. And that's been just a great thing. If it was up to me, I'd probably just stay doing the same thing over and over again. Don likes to explore new things, new ideas. And so having two people that can balance each other or more, I think is a great asset. So yeah, another term I was going to have on that last slide was we were a little bit delusional at the beginning, because take a look at this next one. We thought we were kings of the world.
Oh yeah, yeah, and this was great. You'll like the great high quality sign. We made that ourselves. I know that's hard to believe.
You know, we couldn't afford the 100-pound stock for the paper, so it wouldn't bend.
Yeah.
But
that's and people would come by again. You go back to this enthusiasm. Almost, we had this vision. We knew we were going to do this thing. Failure never entered into it either. We just knew, and people would come by, and literally, if anybody came and talked to us, they were stuck there for 40 minutes talking about this SAIF thing. And looking back, the first opportunity they got to leave, some of them ran.
But we didn't notice.
No.
And so that's part, I think, of being successful entrepreneur is you really have to believe in what you're doing even more than the reality. And I look today at some of the people like the Stephen Jobs, they pushed people to the breaking point, and they told a story that was probably pushing the edge. They talk about a reality distortion field. And I do think that a successful entrepreneur has that. They don't even know that they have that, but by having that, they bring people to maybe 90% of what they're talking about, and that's more than good enough.
Yeah.
Don's line always is, what is it? You shoot for the...
He who aims for the moon shoots farther than he who aims for the tree.
And that's what was going on here.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a slide that Dale made probably in 1996. Okay,
that was our
even has a copyright on that. Yeah. Great. Okay.
So Rick, don't put this anywhere else. This is copyright. So what's really interesting about that is that was about 3 years in, and we had said, okay, what's first of all some important things? Keeping customers happy.
Yeah.
So a recognition that you have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Juggling, we were trying to develop a product at the same time, so we were bootstrapping. We were not ones that wanted to take debt. That's
right. That was another thing that was pounded into us as kids, don't take debt. Yeah.
Yep. And so we were funding our product development by doing consulting, which did mean that we had that opportunity that entrepreneurs have to choose which 24 hours of the day they wanted to work. So
That's right. Yeah.
We did. There was a thing there where it says "have a life." During that phase, we
And
were.
have a life really back then was a goal, not really something we.
Yeah, that was what we were working towards.
Yeah, it was really a goal. Yeah, yeah. We
So-
were having fun.
Yes.
Because again, we were doing what we, Dale and I were just talking a few minutes ago about, the teenage years and how hard they are for some kids. But we had, and Paulo talked about the passion.
Yeah.
We just had this passion. I spent all my money buying an Apple II Plus, and I just spent all my time just working on computers. So I missed all the other trouble, all the parties, all the other trouble everybody else was getting into, because I was focused on my passion. So even though we were working hard, it really was fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, someone has told me once that you need three ingredients. Two of them were hinted at. You need passion, ability, but the other part is you have to be able to provide value to people. Yeah. So if you have those three things going for you, which we really did, that's what catapulted us as it worked along. Now, this is an important one. If you can't read at the back, the idea of a breakfast there is when you're having bacon and eggs, the chicken is involved in the breakfast, but the pig is really committed. And and this. Really,
I can't wait to hear where you're going with this one.
But when you're talking about a partnership, you have to decide: are you in there like chickens, or are you in there like pigs? And early on in our business, we because of some connections I had, there was an opportunity for me to do some paid training. It wasn't really related to what we were doing, but it would make some money. Yeah. And I remember Don spoke to me and said, so is that going to be done under SAFE, or you're doing that yourself? And it hadn't even occurred to me that I would do it under my own name, because although it wasn't really what SAFE was about, this was a way to earn money for us so that we can continue to pour into our product and so on. So you need both people fully committed. And I do want to mention the Zipcar. I don't know if you're aware of that case where there was co-founders for Zipcar. It's a really interesting story, because two women founded this company on the basis of kind of chatting in the parking lot when their kids were going to preschool. So first of all, they weren't co-workers. They just were acquaintances. And they thought they could make this company, yep, it would be great. The problem is they shook hands on like a midnight signing to get the company incorporated at a 50-50 deal. The problem was that one of them, Robin Chase, went on to dedicate her entire life to the company. Her husband quit his job and worked and so on. The other woman basically checked out after a year and a half. But she had 50%. Mm-hmm. So this idea of really understanding the level of commitment between partners, I think, is really, really critical.
Yeah. Good.
And alignment, very much the same thing.
Yeah, alignment. And that's all about communication, making sure you're both always doing the same thing. Of course, there's times, and as a company grows, it's kind of interesting to watch how different aspects of the business, one of us will sort of go on, move to. Like the key thing of our product is the desktop. That's the authoring environment, and that's where Dale did his master's degree in graphical design, and that's where he's gone to. So he looks after that graphical environment, and it's the best graphical environment in the world. And so that graphical environments, I appreciate a good graphical environment, but it doesn't keep me up at night excited about how to make a better one. So I'll tell people I think this feels a bit awkward, but whereas I would work on the server side, things, kind of like that kind of thing. Gets
the R&D side, I would say, like the cutting edge sets of things.
Yeah, but we're always in alignment. We're always talking. Sometimes an employee would come into me, and this happened a couple times, where they would ask me a question, and then they would say, "Oh yeah, well Dale said that." So my response is, "Well, let's go talk to Dale. I've worked with Dale for a long time. If Dale said that, then there's a very good reason that Dale said that. Let's go talk to Dale, and we'll find out what his good reason is, and we can all talk it out." So that's another important thing. There's two of you, if you have a kid, sometimes a kid will go ask mom, go ask dad, and if the
we get that in our company.
You better get mom and dad together, and because things like that, if as the company grows, if anybody ever detects that Dale and I are out of alignment or there's friction there, the whole place would start to align with who's in whose camp and all that sort of thing. So that's, from an alignment standpoint, that's something that we both work very, very hard to do. So if Dale and I have a disagreement, it's like, hey, let's go to, or we need to talk about something, hey, let's go to Nando's and, over lunch or whatever, we can talk about, what we're concerned of and just work it out. But we always have to have this one unified view or be in complete alignment.
What one senior staff member said to me once, said, if an initiative is going to succeed in the company, it has to have the support of Don and I. And so in other words, if we are lukewarm on something, there was a time we thought of changing the company logo, and it boiled down to that really neither of us wanted to do this, and it was kind of running away on us, but we didn't really get motivated to stop it, and we weren't enthused, and this all flopped along for a while. And then in the end, we finally put the kibosh to it, but it was an example of one where it was kind of happening without us really supporting it. And so that's really important, to be aligned and to be communicating that alignment.
Yep. Next one. Yeah, this one again goes back to what we talked about, and we've heard it in a number of talkers, this whole idea of passion. We didn't go into business to make money. I mean, that sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? We didn't go in it to make money. We didn't go in to lose money, but we had this passion for technology. We saw these problems that could be solved that were very hard for people to solve, and we said, hey, we're going to solve that problem. For years, when we first started building the product, I mean, we had this idea of evaluation licenses.
Yes.
And how long did we give them to evaluate?
Well, I don't know, it was like 30 days or something, but basically at the beginning we didn't have very much infrastructure, and so if somebody wanted to buy, we'd often say, wouldn't you mind evaluating a bit longer? Which we sure violates one of the Ferengi rules of acquisition. Nope, there's no Star Trek fans.
There's no Star Trek
no,
fans.
Okay,
Yeah,
anyway.
Yeah. And then we had some customers who said, well, this can't I already know I like it, can't I buy it? and again, that was us just being so focused on the passion, so focused on getting it done, that we knew that if we got it done right, that the rest would take care of itself. And then, Paulo again talked about his kids. If they can find that passion, then the rest will just take care of itself.
One time we've of course had people come knock on our doors over the years wanting to buy our company, and we've rebuffed them always. But one guy kind of sized us all up and says, oh, okay, I understand. You guys are successful hobbyists. So that's how he categorized our business acumen.
With 100 employees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and there we are. This is more of the passion. This was our first computer monitor, so you can see we really focused on and we liked it so much. That was just for Dale, so you can tell he's a little bit more excited than I, and I have a look of just pure jealousy on my face. But then the next thing we bought was another one.
I guess that's an early unboxing video.
Exactly. Yeah. So funny. And a great quote from Thomas Jefferson: I'm a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it. What that says to me, and we don't really believe in luck either, right? What it says is, you have to have hard work, you have to believe in what you're doing, and then the rest will come. But for sure, you need the hard work.
Yeah. Now we get to this next one where. At one point, our wives actually did stage an intervention.
Yeah, they did.
Basically, and have to tell us, come on, guys, you got to dial back the work. I still remember that.
Yeah. I remember coming home from a big, long trip, and I hadn't been around for a while, and the lawn was like really, really, really high. And I made the mistake of saying, boy, the lawn sure is long. You ever say something, and then as soon as the words leave your mouth, you wish you could bring them back? Yeah. Yeah.
So that is something that is a challenge for founders, is to deal with that, especially during the early years when the resources are tight and the demands on time are so great. And also coming to the realization that grappling with the fact that any minute that you work could be turning into dollars, but you can't view your entire life in that way. Yeah. And so it was a difficult time to go through.
Yeah, and really unhealthy. Like, you can't live your life like that. Pretty soon you'll have nothing left other than your work.
Yes.
Yeah, and so really that's we did that in the early days. We knew what it meant, but at SAFE we have a rule really, and it's a 40-hour work week. We're in the high-tech industry. Traditionally hear about high-tech companies burning people out. We really focus on having the balance. We're both fathers now, both husbands, and I know a guy whose kid graduated college, and he doesn't even really know who she is because he was spent so much time on the road. And I just said, I want to make sure I know who my daughter is. I want to make sure she knows who I am, because at the end of the day, those years are pretty special. And it's the memories, right? It's like when you take a photo. It doesn't really mean anything the next day, but boy, 10 years from now, it means everything.
So we're both very thankful for our spouses who, we talked about this quiet little voice. In that case, it wasn't maybe so quiet, but still that spoke that truth into us quite early and got us off of the crazy working that we were doing to set up for a longer marathon, really.
Yeah. And trust. Yeah, so this is a big one. When, we both take vacations, and I was on a vacation, and when I take a vacation, I really try to disengage. So I try not to look at email, because if I look at an email in the morning, I know I'm going to be thinking about something all day, and then my daughter and my wife are going to notice that I'm there physically, but not really there. And so somebody said to me, well, don't you worry about what's happening at the office back home? And I said, no. And they said, why? I said, because I have a partner. I have Dale. And I trust him. I never worry that Dale's going to run off and buy a Ferrari or something like that. He'd buy a Tesla.
It was all for company business, Don.
Yeah, that's right. So I never, so if you don't have a partner that you would trust your child's life with, then really you shouldn't be in business with that partner, because that partner has the ability to ruin you, ruin your family, ruin everything. So you really need to think about it, because the trust is really a key one.
And related to that is the fact about being, well, the next slide there, being trustworthy yourself. So it's one thing that, to trust your partner, but at the same time, to always be evaluating your own actions. Am I acting in a trustworthy way? Am I acting in an honoring way of my business partner? And more greatly, my company as well. But those are key things to be hold high all the time.
Absolutely. So an office. Well, we started it out. I was living in Wally in a condo. I'm working out of the second room, and Dale was in Richmond. Yeah. And we're cheap guys. We would work hard, but spending the money we were good savers. And so getting to but then you get to the point where you're too big, so you got to get an office. So we found the perfect first office. It was a closet. The only window was a skylight. And the guy, when we said, it's perfect. And the guy was like, really? He's probably been trying to get rid of this office for 6 months, because who wants an office where it's just 4 walls, no windows?
But you could look up and see what the weather's like.
That's right, and you could hear it.
Yeah.
But really,
in Vancouver, we can hear it anyway.
You can hear it, that's right. But really, we should have, get an office sooner rather than later.
Yes.
That would be...
I think our little lesson there to take home is that I think we were perhaps a bit too cautious early on. And while saving is great, probably expanding the business a little earlier to, first of all, hire some people to, for example, take orders from people. That might have been a wise thing. Getting a more realistic office a bit sooner. During that phase, that's probably 4 or 5 years in, we might have wanted to be a little bit more investing. And later on, too, I know that there's accountants in the room. I'm going to give a big endorsement for having a strong accounting function in your company. We suffered because of not doing that soon enough. And again, viewing some of these things as overheads when they really weren't was probably a mistake that we made, and we managed to slide through it. But now that we're on the other side, I really, really value the contribution of overheads like good legal advice, good accounting, timely accounting.
And how long have we had Gary for now?
Is it 3 years?
Yeah. So we've had good accounting for 3 years.
Yes. Well,
and it's made a huge difference. We never used to know if the company was profitable or not profitable till about an hour before.
2007, 2008 has a way of kind of bringing you to a little bit of truth around the importance of accounting when you get in a business. When times are going good, you can get away with it, but when you have to start looking more carefully, and so that prepared us for needing to do something, and now we're so much stronger as a company because of that.
And culture, if you look at these words, you'll see, we'll get moving here, but you'll see that they're pretty much the same words that initially when we started the company: trust, respect, enthusiasm.
We heard the first speaker this morning, Carl, talked about humility. Well, low ego, that's always been one of our key things as well. Now, this issue of conflict, of course, it does happen from time to time, and I'm sure that there's a picture that's got us reversed.
That's what we couldn't find.
We couldn't find it, oddly enough. But one of the key things, I'll just go to the next slide, I think, is this one here. And especially at the beginning and just in general, email is a terrible medium for dealing with conflict. And early on, or at different times in our relationship, probably the worst problems we've had have been because of email, and sometimes because of misunderstanding. Even the person wasn't trying to say anything mean or bad, but it was interpreted the other way. And so,
or sometimes, let's face it, we're two passionate people working hard on something. You saw that balance slide, a little earlier, and I can get emotional, and I know I've sent Dale some zingers, and Dale would send a zinger back, and then you quickly realize, okay, we better get on the phone here because this is like kind of.
It is funny how email is a medium that doesn't have any filter at all. You can phone the person up and have the same discussion, and it'll be so much more calm, and yet you can get yourself worked into a knot. So email is really a horrible medium, and so that's why talking is really important. And now we've even gone to a model where we do, although Don likes to be completely disconnected, we do schedule a check-in call. Let's say one of us is going to be gone for 2 weeks. We have a time when we're going to talk just to kind of make sure that there's nothing brewing and keep everything somewhat, on the level.
Yeah. So talk to each other, talk to yourself, but don't role play, right? I'm sure some of you know what I mean. Sometimes you can role play in your head, and that's as soon as you move to this, is stop. Call the person up. Okay.
So these things, I think, along the way helped us. And so there's never a problem with making a mistake. I think it was somebody said, as long as you don't make the same one twice. And so that's the thing, to learn from them and move on, I think is a key thing.
Yeah. And care. And this is really a big one. We care about yourself, care about your partner, care about everybody around you. So one of the things, we can't compete with companies like Google, Amazon, Hootsuite, Microsoft, who are moving into the Vancouver area on salary. We just can't. But what we can compete with them is on caring. We really care about our employees. They know we care about them. When somebody's going through personal issues, which we all have from time to time, we're there for them, and they know that. And I'll tell you, people will stay if they know you actually care about them. We all go through things, and that's something that really sets us apart from other countries. We care about each other, and people can see that. They see we're a caring organization.
We didn't pull the statistic, but we have about 100 staff. I would guess that we have less than one person per year that leaves our company to go somewhere else. So we have an extremely high retention rate, which means actually our staff is kind of all aging at the same time too. But it's an interesting demographic, but it all comes because of this. Related to that, we try to encourage a culture of sharing as well.
Yeah, and so giving back, whenever there's a disaster, so there was the one in Haiti, we always have a matching program for our staff to encourage them to give back.
We're going to do it now.
Yeah, and we're doing it now with the Philippines.
Yep.
Yeah, we gave a grant to the Surrey Memorial Hospital. They did a big emergency thing, and so become part of the community, give back. And the nice thing, it makes you feel good. So people say, why do you give? Well, you help other people, but if you give the flip side of things, it makes you feel good too, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right?
There's a reason why there's lots of biblical teaching around this, and the looser you hold, I think it was Rick that maybe told me this recently, but the idea is if you hold your money really tight, well, there's no way to add more into the pile. So you need to hold your hand open and hold it loosely, and then, it's not a guarantee. It's not like God is a cash machine, but I have found it over and over again, the more generous that you are, God rewards that. And so that's been a key part of the kind of company we want to have. This is a graph, actually, of our revenue by quarter since the beginning of time, pretty much. But you can see that you put all these ingredients in a blender and work hard, and this is what happens. Doesn't mean that there aren't some tougher times in there. You can kind of tell when we need to get accounting help. But anyway, it's been a great run.
Great run, yeah. And that's us today. So, we're 100 plus now. So, we're doing what we've always done. We have the same culture we've always had. We have a lot of fun. We work hard, but we only work 40 hours a week. And some of the things the staff love about SAFE too is they have exercise. We have an exercise room. We built somebody talked earlier about being fit. We built a state-of-the-art exercise room for the staff. They play lunch sports. They do all sorts of things.
So to kind of sum up what has been our really underlying the foundation of our partnership is this verse from Micah. And I once heard David Schellenberg, some of you may know him from Abbotsford, give a 45-minute talk on this verse alone. And sometime you should probably get him to do that, Rick. But there's a lot of business wisdom in here. If you want to run a good company, whoa. We got 14 minutes to finish. Okay, so you got to act justly. and thank you.
Okay, there we go.
Woo! Okay, act justly. So that's about how you work with your customers and your partners. Love mercy. That's about how you treat your employees. When there's times in need, but also walk humbly, and we saw that earlier today. Another way I'll just quickly mention that manifests at SAFE is that we did this thing we called Innovation Days. When you have two founders that are technical, the danger is that everybody relies on the founders for all the ideas. So what we did is we shut the company down in terms of its normal organization, and we said, we don't care, all the technical staff, you have 1 week to work on anything you want to, divide yourselves up however you want to, don't report to anybody, and Don and I do not have any veto, nothing, we're observers. And we let them loose, and we just did this experiment about a month ago, 2 months ago. 50 projects done in a week. They had to present on Friday. We chose not to have any prizes, so there was it was just about learning and exploring ideas and so on. 50 projects completed in a week, of which 15 of them were absolutely killer product ideas that we are going to end up using. So that's the kind, and that's part about being humble and not thinking that you're too full of every good idea.
That's right. No, that's good.
So, yeah, we like to have fun. The lizard was Don's invention.
Yeah, you can see that was the flower that inspired the lizard. We have Crazy Group that works on splash screens, and these are just some of them.
We did get accused, though, when we used the bananas of being a little bit too over the top.
Yeah, we had a release called Go Bananas, so that was hard for some of the big organizations to swallow when they fired
when you're selling to the Department of Defense, they don't really like Goes Bananas.
Goes Bananas.
But anyway, but looking forward, we're just coming up on our 20th birthday, actually, as an incorporated company in a few days here, and we're looking forward to the next 20.
Yeah, we have a big world conference in Vancouver in March.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
So just to sum up, I think one last thing, and I think there's 4 ways that I think that this applies. First of all, as a partnership, we need to be applying this rule: do unto others as you do unto Don as Don would I'd want him to do to me. I mean, that's a really great foundational piece. But you can also apply that to your employees. Because one of the things we like to say is we like to treat them as if they're volunteers, and that fits into this thing. How would I like to be treated as an employee? That's what I want to do. And to our customers as well, and also to our business partners. So really an incredible rule for business right there.
And it flows downhill. If you want your employees to treat your customers well, treat your employees well. You can bet that if you go somewhere and you're abused by the person giving you service, I bet you their boss is abusing them.
So anyway, I think we'll end her there.
We could go on for another hour.
That's right. So Don, I want to give you I'm going to give you a big hug.
Okay, give me that. Thanks,
There we go. We never do that. So anyway, thank you very much.